I've spoken a lot in the past 100 plus days about learning my lesson, not taking the catnip this time around, and avoid following the latest musings of the madness of Trump. Instead, keeping our collective focus on the issues that really matter, that affect national prosperity, security, and our very democracy. I say that as I'm about to break my own rule. Donald Trump spent a lot of time, not just during the campaign, but since he's been in office, obsessing over Biden, real or imaginative cognitive decline.
Now, Sleepy Joe would say the unemployment rate in the great state of Ohio. No, you're in South Carolina. Joe, you're in South. They come up and you ever see the guy that no, it's South Carolina. It's not Ohio. Okay. Then he goes, all right, Iowa. Did you say Iowa? No. I did that like 7 times. If I did that once, it would be the end of the road, right?
I bring this up because I'm reminded of that old adage, those in glass houses shouldn't be hurling boulders. Even though I have a dozen examples of Looney Tunes behavior in the past week from our president, I chose just a couple this morning to illustrate something that's clearly wrong with one Donald J. Trump. Over the weekend, Trump was unsurprisingly not boning up on his daily briefings, but instead again playing with his phone. More on that unsecured fiasco, meaning his phone, a little bit at a later date. Anyway, the Donald came across a post that was less credible than Matt Gaetz being named head of the National Girl Scouts. And guess what he decided to share on his Truth Social to his followers as if it was fact? The President of the United States just shared on his platform that Joe Biden was in fact executed in 2020 and replaced by clone doubles and robotic engineered soulless entities. It is hard to figure out where to begin. First, and I don't know why I'm even bothering with details here, but robots and clones are very different things. But what? Wasn't it just a few months ago and more recently in the last couple weeks with Tapper's new book where a collective soul searching was undertaken to ask why hard questions for Biden's own inner circle and party weren't asked during Biden's decline? Well, Donald Trump, who again I remind you is the President of the United States, just introduced the greatest scandal in the history of the planet. Where are Republicans who believe this insanity? Why aren't they calling for 9/11 investigations into robot presidents? Or more aptly, where is the widespread concern in the GOP that a certifiable nut who has access to the nuclear codes is doing this? Imagine for a second if any other commander-in-chief, Republican or Democrat, in our history would promote such dangerous, unhinged lies and elicit a collective shrug. Next, we get to the latest proof as to how he views the rule of law and what he thinks about women. Trump was asked a question in the recent briefing that would never have been posed to any other sitting president because the very notion would have been dismissed so out of hand. Donald was asked if he would consider a pardon for Diddy, who's on trial, as you know, for, among other things, federal charges including sexual trafficking. Now, instead of saying a simple one-syllable word, no, he said this instead.
First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him, I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up from what I read. I don't know, he didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden, I don't know, I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
I don't know how you could turn that question into a treatise about your own popularity, but of course Trump did. But more importantly, look at this video. How in any universe is this the kind of person any decent human being would even consider using the powers of the presidency to protect? Trump's immorality, punctuated by his blanket January 6 pardons for the more than 1,500 rioters, including pedophiles, who beat cops, has clearly struck a nerve with dirtbags of all shapes and sizes. A fugitive violent escapee and a former inmate from the New Orleans prison broke out and now has reached out directly to who else but Donald Trump for a pardon, clearly feeling that, like himself, he has a president of the White House who equally despises law and order. Can we step back for a second and just consider how off the rails it's become that regardless of crimes involving sexual assault, murder, treason, or fraud, the accused believe that they have a sympathetic ear in the Oval? I've learned not to be shocked by the collective silence and political cowardice of Republican electives. But for the rest of us, can we at least not accept this repeated embarrassment is not normal or acceptable? Can we still have some standards in America? Can we please accept better than this?